We're gonna go into the Antichrist.
You gave me the option.
Jana's like, I just want to go home.
They're fighting. The girls are fighting.
I just want to go home. So this is from. We don't have to go too long on it, but I think it's important to bring up. But Peter Thiel's been doing an off-the-record lecture series on the Antichrist, and I think it's important just for people of the faith to actually talk about this stuff, because I think whenever somebody's out there talking about these things, and a lot of what he's saying is very, I wouldn't call it misinformed, but I would definitely say it's definitely getting me to think that he might not know what he's talking about. And I'm not saying that I know what I'm talking about, but I definitely know enough to call like, hey, there's something here that's just not making sense. And yeah, like he needs to, like, for what like Vic says, like there's sometimes you need to stay in your lane. And basically if everything the Guardian is reporting here, and I'm not going to go through it all because a lot of it is just very yeah, it's just outright just like it's wild. And just the long story short, he's doing a series of lectures in San Francisco about the Antichrist. And a lot of it is based off of his understanding of what the Antichrist is. And I don't know exactly what his sect of Christianity is. I don't know what his personal life is. I could speculate, and there's like all these rumors, and I don't want to do that because I think that's just, we'll leave that for somebody else to do. But I do think it's important to show that a lot of what that's being shown here is that he's basically trying to say that a lot of the technology that they're building in Silicon Valley can lead to potentially the Antichrist, and can lead to leaders that are particularly young right now that can then turn into the Antichrist. And I think what he is missing here is that that's not how things work according to Scripture. And so I wrote a whole post. I'm not going to go into it, but I wrote a whole post about this, and I stayed up till like 4 a.m. last night because I had been thinking about this like for a week, and I had talked to Nick about it. I had talked to a couple other people last night. I was talking to a close friend of mine about it, and I really didn't know like what side to pick on, because I'm trying to get to a point now where I don't want to I don't want to slander people, and I don't want to go on the record of like just like going attacking them. I'd rather attack the ideas now, and I feel like in my writing I need to be much better about like fighting these ideas, but fighting them on the historical facts, and kind of sticking to the facts on this stuff. And so I was just touching on the fact that he's very much a person that is a huge fan of Lord of the Rings. I don't know if you guys knew this, but he's a humongous fan of Lord of the Rings. J.R.R. Tolkien was historically Catholic guy, and a lot of the symbolism inside Lord of the Rings is a very Catholic type of good versus evil type of thing, right? And so, I referenced a lot of that stuff in there. It's funny because I didn't even realize that I had written an article in 2021, and there's this amazing song called what's the name of it? Let me see if I can find it. There's an amazing song called "The Past is a Grotesque Animal," and I had the reason why that song is important is because it was done by this guy named Kevin Barnes. And Kevin Barnes is like the modern day, or at least in my generation, he was like the modern day like version of Bowie. But he wasn't quite Bowie, but he was an amazing poet. And a lot of people thought that he was going to be the next Bowie, but he just never became that. But a lot of what he would do and a lot of his antics was very much of like doing these type of things that would then cause like a what's the right word? Is a maelstrom, where it would be like this theater, these antics, but that would get a rise out of people for the sake of getting a reaction out of them. And it was funny because the more and more I thought about this, the more I realized it's like this is very similar to that song. That song that he had made is exactly the type of thing that he is describing in those words. And when you look at it more closely, you realize that what Thiel is doing is trying to conjure up this past this past thing, because as I don't know how well you guys know the Revelations, but the Antichrist literally was Nero in the early Christianity, and he was the one that everybody determined was the Antichrist, and this thing had a long past. And I go into it and I touch on it and stuff like that. And so, but in this kind of weird way, Thiel is kind of now saying there's this going to be this new Antichrist and this new thing, and he's mislabeling it and almost doing a thing where he's just like misidentifying this new villain in a way, and it's almost type of some kind of theatric thing that he's trying to do. And it's, to me, I find it a little bit alarming because it's almost looks like misdirection in a way, but I don't know why there's misdirection there. And so anyway, I put all my thoughts into it and wanted just to share this because I think it's important for people to understand that, like, a lot of what he's doing looks like he is it's concerning because a lot of what he's doing is almost, there's a good scripture too, and I think the scripture probably makes the most sense, but it's Proverbs 21:1, and it talks about how God, when he gives people like the job that Keyan has, this is what Christians believe. The job that Keyan has, he has this job because he's been anointed by God to have this job, to do the things that he's doing. And if there was another person for that job, then God would have given another person that job that Keon's doing. If that makes any sense. So the job that Peter Thiel has is given to him by God. And so when the Proverbs 21:1 describes is, I need to pull it up because I want to get it right. It describes this thing called, the king's heart is in the hand of the Lord, who turns it wherever he wishes, like a stream of water. Basically emphasizing that even with the most powerful humans and the kings that are anointed by God, there is no way that whatever Peter Thiel is trying to do, that people are afraid that he's the Antichrist or whatever he is trying to prevent, if that's a thing that he's trying to do, can come to fruition without God's purpose, without God's direct intervention, if that makes any sense, according to scripture. And that's where I think a lot of what's not being said here is just not, and this is where I think it's important to talk about. People of the faith need to, if they feel compelled to, should be speaking up. And that's all I wanted to bring this up, is because I think it's important, because I don't think there's anybody in the Bitcoin space that wants to touch this, because it's kind of like one of those things that's like, car, stay in your lane. Do you really want it? And I think it's important to bring up because it's like, yeah, but like I feel compelled to say something. And I also feel compelled, like, in a way that it doesn't really make sense why somebody of his stature would be going out this route. But I do understand that God has him in that position for a reason. But it doesn't mean that there's absolutely no way that anybody should be fearful of what he is doing or what he intends to do, even if these things are true or what he's saying, because a lot of what that is going on is far out of his control, even if he is trying to do these things or prevent these things. That makes sense. I'll leave it there for the table.
Oh. Okay, I have a question. What makes you uncomfortable maybe about the way Peter Thiel... Okay, I guess I'm not sure like where his... I don't know anything about his talks.
Yeah.
But I think you just summarized it to say that he would lead you to the place where you would see that like technology is the Antichrist's clothes.
He has two main theories about what the Antichrist is. One of them is it's like totalitarian technology stuff, and or the totalitarian state that exists to lord over technology and prevent it from escalating to the point where it causes an apocalypse. But then that's like its own form of apocalypse, to have a totalitarian state. And then the other side of it is the technology itself gets so dangerous and abused that it becomes like the Antichrist and causes the apocalypse. So those are the two theories that I've heard him say, but he's basically broadly talking about the Antichrist and thinking about it in a modern context, and it arising in a modern context. That is this is about a year ago.
But we would listen to him in particular on this because he has been inside technology as
Yeah, he's both on the inside of technology and as a Christian, which are quite a rare pairing.
Right.
Yeah, and this is where like it's very fascinating because he and I touch on this here like in the like I try to be very poetic with this because I don't want to be heavy-handed anymore. I'm trying to be trying to get to my I'm trying to when am I writing, Jenna? You appreciate this. Like
I
in
do.
my writing, I'm trying to be more like Christopher Nolan now. Like I'm trying to get to a point to where I don't want to be heavy-handed with my writing. I don't want to be too on the nose. You're either going to get what I'm saying or you're not going to get it now.
Yeah, no, and you said something you said earlier that I appreciated was that you want to be more facts based and not
But like
attacking.
even this
And
line, like
that is good. I appreciate
even
that.
this line, we melt our own snow and wonder why we bothered authoring disasters we then deny. Like that's a poetic line that I ripped off from Kevin Barnes. And when you look into that line, it basically means is that like everything that he has built throughout his lifetime, he's and you know, some people would argue that he's effectively destroyed or he's effectively created and he's been a part of.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's wondering why, like
Mm-hmm.
why am I where I'm at and why am I having these lectures?
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of one of these things where it's like in a lot of ways it's almost like I kind of feel like he's exercising something. It's almost like a way of him
Okay.
coming to grips with the reality thing that he's created.
Yeah.
And it's very much like the J.R.R. Tolkien thing. When you read the article, it's a lot of like Lord of the Rings because he was a big fan of Lord of the Rings growing up. It's like his favorite book. And it's almost like he is living that kind of Sauron type of reality. And he's coming to grips with this kind of order behavior of.
So is that part of your analysis to like then kind of tell us like don't listen to what he's saying?
No, I'm not saying anything. I'm just giving my opinion on the whole thing and saying that like,
Yeah.
I don't want normal people to get disturbed by it. Like I'm trying to tell people like, I guess the whole, like you kind of have to read it and understand it because there's a lot there, but I'm not trying to sway one people one way or another. I'm just trying
analyzing it.
I'm just trying to leave it open interpreted now.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I'm done trying because I was looking at my writing from Thriller Bitcoin and I was like, what's the next stage of my writing? My writing needs to be like I need to move to a place where it's like it's gonna stand on its own and it needs to stand on a place where it's like Christopher Nolan, where he doesn't give you an interpretation of what he's trying to say. He just says, this is it. And you either understand what I'm talking about or you don't. And that's kind of where I'm trying to go now with my writing. And I stayed up for like 4 hours yesterday trying to like bang it out. And
I read it. I enjoyed reading it. I think I share Jan. I'm not sure what you're saying about Peter Thiel's work. I could see that you're skeptical of it, but I don't know in what ways you are skeptical of it. Are you saying that the scripture disagrees with Peter Thiel's interpretation, or someone who would be a theologian who studied it in detail would disagree with Peter Thiel's analysis? Is that what you're saying? Or
I think you have to read it and you have to look at the articles and you have to actually like look into it. Like I named it the Velvet Stage and the Burning City for a reason. Like I named it these things for reasons. Like the clues are there. That's kind of where I'm at, like with what I'm doing now. It's like, you know, there was a time where I would have been like more on the nose about things, and I'm realizing now that like I don't need to do that anymore. They just need to be open ended about things and leave it for interpretation.
I'm not saying you need to be on the nose.
Yeah.
That's what I'm asking. I'm asking for the nose. Like I'm trying to figure it out after having read it. And that if the idea is you never show the nose, even if someone asks, then that's okay.
No, I think we had it here in the comments, like Simple Stacker, or no, Billy the Kid got it.
Okay, so you agree with the Billy the Kid's interpretation of your writing. Okay.
Yeah, and then we go into it a little bit more. And I literally said it in the beginning about Proverbs 21:1. I think the biggest thing that if you go look at that, go look at Proverbs 21:1. That's how I feel about it. If you're curious, like what's the whole point of the write up on Stacker.News? It's like, what do you think about Peter Thiel's Antichrist lectures? 21:1 Proverbs. That's what I think about it.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. I guess that's what
You
I
can't
was.
summon the Antichrist. That's what I'm trying to say.
Oh, you think he's trying to summon the Antichrist?
or exercise it from himself.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that, and that's not what I'm trying to say in the on the article. I'm just saying that go look at Proverbs 21:1. I'm not trying to be on the notes, Keyan.
I know that, but that's what I'm just trying
guys
to
are
figure out
uncomfortable.
I'm trying to figure out what you're saying. This is mostly what,
Yeah.
like in detail. I get what you're saying broadly.
You gotta leave that for other authors. I think there's people a lot smarter than me that can be more eloquent on the nose about things and do it the right way. That's not me. I can't be that. I gotta be me.
Well, I like the title.
Yeah, the title's cool. I thought, and it's very broad, and it kind of has like a tapestry of different.
Yeah, if I would have had more like
influences.
if I would have had more kind of like if I would have posted on Thriller Bitcoin, I would have been more like beautiful.
So one question about this Guardian article. What is meant by off the record?
So the one thing that's interesting about this whole thing is that he sold tickets and then you weren't allowed to talk about it, record it, or it was completely off the record. There was a couple people
You
that
like turned in your phone or something.
I'm not sure about that, but there was a couple people that did, and then they initially got.
They died?
No, they didn't die, but
okay.
they didn't get invited to the next week's performance or whatever.
Okay.
Punished.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that kind of like maybe like the type of atmosphere you wanted it to be was like a comedy show. Honestly, that's the same thing you do at a comedy show. Turn in your phone.
Yeah.
So people feel free to say things that are a little bit pokey.
I think he just wanted to talk to his crowd,
to his followers.
Yeah.
My sense is it was mostly like my sense of Peter Thiel is like this is like kind of a beta, and he's trying to get it to a closed audience and release it to them, and he doesn't kind of.
I think Keyan gets it. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. See, that's why I like Keyan, because he's gonna figure out like how these guys think.
I would love
what
to
else
take.
I'm curious, what are your thoughts on this? Because you're going to have a totally different take on this than I am.
Well, so I'm not super familiar with scripture, but
yeah, I want to know your take on this.
Peter Thiel has been exploring this idea for a few years, and there was a podcast that he did with I believe it's the Heritage Foundation, Stanford conservative group, and they do these great. Peter Thiel goes on there frequently, and he described his current thinking at the time about the Antichrist and the apocalypse. And I shared that on Stacker.News maybe like a year ago. But I think it's at the very least, it's an interesting frame to view technology and the potential trajectory of the world. Janice getting a drink, and it was distracting because I couldn't see what she was doing. What do I think of that? I think he explores two potential poles as being the apocalypse, and I think I don't know. They seem to make sense to me. I could definitely see the apocalypse coming about by having a totalitarian government, and he kind of lays out that there are incentives to do it because that's the only way to stomp out. If AI is going to be really powerful and it's going to be in the hands of everyday people, it's kind of like giving and we have AGI. And people basically everyone has a nuclear weapon, more or less, and that's maybe bad, and that's an apocalypse of some kind. And then, but how you might defend against that is you have a totalitarian government that squashes that technological progress, but then that's its own antichrist and its own apocalypse of a kind. So that's kind of the way he described. It's like a very black and white thing, but
I don't know. I kind of see it a little bit differently as far as like the timeline. I kind of see it like, and remember I told you I had went to that thing and I saw the timeline, and it really opened my eyes to the history of the world and stuff.
Yeah.
And I really kind of see it like the fourth turning. I kind of see it now a little bit differently. I kind of see it like the internet was invented, then and then you had Bitcoin, fix the money, and then now you have AI. and then we're going to fix the energy, then it's going to be the final frontier. And I think that that's kind of how I see it kind of playing out. And either we're going to destroy ourselves before we get to the final frontier, or we're not. But I don't think we have to get to a total totalitarian government to. I don't think either we're going to annihilate ourselves, but I don't think there needs to be like an NWO to make that happen.
That's what he's saying, is he thinks the powers of the world might intervene to prevent us from annihilating themselves, and in the process create an antichrist and an apocalypse of like culture, I guess, and like human well-being in its own way.
I think there's a change in the world order right now, and I think a lot of people are vying for the boomer class kind of going away, and I think Gen X is just making their moves, and I think that's what we're seeing. So that's what I think is going on. Just the hand over the keys. So I could be wrong about that, but that's what my spidey sense tells me.
I don't know anything about the future. I'll say that.
That's honest.
That's honest, yeah.
And that's the reason to pray.
There you go. Ted said something, but
maybe
couldn't hear him.
I don't know.
Do you have some thoughts on this, Ted? I didn't even ask you.
You just wanted us to be bullish. And
you want to come over here and say something
with him?
Oh, Ted has some thoughts. Oh, come here.
Bitcoin is inevitable, and
there you
everything
go.
else is questionable.
I like that jacket. There you go.